Call the meeting of the Commissioners Court to order. Our judge is out of the city today, so I'll be acting in his behalf. If the clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge. Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1. Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation day will be brought to us by Ron Bertel from the Auditor's Office. Ron, and if you will, please remain standing for the pledges of the flags after the prayer.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you'll all bow with me. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you that we have the opportunity to begin this meeting recognizing you as our God. May this always be the case. We come to you thanking you for the many blessings that you poured on our country, our state, and our county. All good things come from you, and we thank you for these. As King David was about to die, he prepared to pass the government on to his son Solomon, and he offered the following charge found in 2 Kings. Keep the charge of the Lord your God to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, his commandments, his judgments, and his testimonies, that you may prosper in all that you do, wherever you turn. Today, we repeat this charge to the leaders here, to the leaders in Austin, and the leaders in Washington, so that this nation may continue to prosper. Father, speak clearly to your servants in positions of leadership, and we pray that the ears of their heart will be open to your word, that they may know and do your will, and by doing so, you will continue to cover our land with protection and favor. Give each of them a clear recognition of your voice, that they can not only recognize your voice, but also recognize the lies of the enemy who seeks to steal, kill, and destroy your people. And finally, may we as your people unite as one nation under God this Thursday in the National Day of Prayer and seek your favor and blessing on our nation, our leaders, and all the people in this country, regardless of whether they agree with us on matters of everyday life. Your word says the greatest command was to love the Lord your God with all your heart, and the second was to love our neighbor as ourselves. May this be so in our land today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda announcements. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have one and more agenda announcements for you this morning. The first is under proclamations and resolutions. This is item 6C, which was the Certificate of Appreciation for Jim Douglas. As we're going to ask that we hold that for a week. As you know, the Employee Appreciation Day was originally scheduled for today, and because of all the rain that we had the last weekend and the fact that it was really pretty cold this morning, we have delayed that until next Tuesday. So we will have that next Tuesday, and you'll see this item on the agenda also. And I know, Commissioner Johnson, you didn't have any other discussion or comments you wanted to make about that, so we'll move on.
Well, you know, we had a cold weather day one time about 10 or 15 years ago that you called, ice day, I believe it was. And the weather was about like it is today that day, and I was a little embarrassed to be taking off, but I understand you got cold feet yesterday and decided to call off our picnic today.
Well,
so we'll eat.
Commissioner, I just have one question. Is there ever going to be a time in my employment here that you're ever going to forget about that snow day? Just checking. Continuing on.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Under the Administrator's section, item 9A4, we have a revised court communication in your folder as it relates to this particular item. Also, members of court, if we can go to purchasing, which is item 9K2. This is bid number 2011-052. We're going to ask that we hold that particular item for 1 week. And then we have two other items yet. Under County Judge and Commissioners, which is 902, this is interlocal agreements with Precinct 3. We're going to hold that item 2A and B. And then finally, members of the court, when we get to the bonds section, which is item 10, I believe Ms. Diamond with the District Attorney's Office has 2 bonds that she will be presenting to court this morning.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, GK. Approval of the minutes. We have our regular meeting of April the 19th and a special call meeting April 25th. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the meeting minutes.
Both?
Both.
I'll second. Is there any further discussion? There being none, I'll cast your vote, excuse me. Let's get these votes straight, too. Let me get Whitley's off here, and Brooks, you'll turn his off over there.
Let me get you off.
There you go. Thank you. No, I'll leave mine on. Okay. I'm actually going to vote today.
You'll vote all yes? Did you vote from there over to here?
I just did.
Okay.
All right, we have 2 proclamations. Our first proclamation is Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. This is brought to us from Judge Whitley, who isn't here today. So, Commissioner Fickus, if you would read that into the record, please.
Thank you, Judge. Whereas our greatest resource in Tarrant County is our children, and their mental health is as important to their future as their physical health. And whereas the key to a lifetime of mental health is prevention, and whereas according to the Cook's Children's 2008 Community-Wide Children's Health Assessment and Planning Survey, 12.5% of children in Tarrant County have emotional and mental health related needs. Whereas children with social, emotional, and behavioral issues are most effectively helped with early intervention, and whereas parents and all members of the community can contribute to children's mental health by taking time to foster their creativity and learn important social skills, and whereas Hand in Hand is a part of our community as a resource to help young children and their families develop healthy minds, and whereas the month of May 2011 is National Mental Health Month. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim May 3rd, 2011 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Day in Tarrant County. I move approval.
I second.
Motion made and second. Please vote. The vote is unanimous. And Chuck Hoffman, Project Director for Hand in Hand, is going to be here today and maybe has some other people to introduce to us.
I have some folks here, and I wanted to introduce myself as I'm Charles Hoffman. I'm currently the project director for Hand in Hand, which is the local aspect or the local manifestation of the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration Systems of Care grant. Thank you for letting us be here today. We know that early intervention and prevention to provide services to young people at an early age is absolutely essential to their current and future well-being. So thank you for...
Do you have some other folks you want to introduce?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. All right. From you all's left, the Hand in Hand HIT team, my colleagues, are Lydia Garcia, Estrella Griggs, working with our Cultural and Linguistic Competency Initiative, our clinical director, Stephanie Norton, Jamie Souders, our parent representative, parent director, and Kay Barkin, our social marketing director. So that's our group.
All right. Well, let me present this to you.
Thank you,
you very much for all that you
appreciate it.
We have one other resolution, that's National Day of Prayer. That was also brought to us by Judge Whitley. And Commissioner, if you would read that into the record, please.
I certainly will. Whereas the National Day of Prayer and prayer for our nation predates the founding of the United States of America, evidenced by the Continental Congress's proclamation of 1775, setting aside a day of prayer with the belief that prayer could and would change a nation. And whereas one of many reverend leaders, Benjamin Franklin, was influenced to make a speech before the Constitutional Convention regarding the importance of beginning with prayer, and whereas he reminded the delegates in the beginning of the contest with Britain, when we were sensible of danger, we had daily prayers in this room for divine protection. And whereas he concluded, I therefore beg leave to move that, henceforth prayer, imploring the assistance of heaven and its blessing on our deliberation, be held in this assembly every morning before we proceed to business. And whereas these words remind us of the importance of prayer in our history and the importance that a foundation of prayer has to our future, and whereas in 1952, both houses of Congress passed legislation establishing the official Day of Prayer, which was signed by President Harry Truman, and whereas in 1988, Congress amended that law by a unanimous vote designating that the first Thursday in May as the annual National Day of Prayer, which was signed into law by President Ronald Reagan and was unanimously upheld as constitutional by the U.S. Court of Appeals in 2011. Whereas the theme for the 60th annual National Day of Prayer is "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." The theme scripture is Psalms 91:2. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress and my God in whom I trust. And whereas we join citizens across this land from many walks of life in celebrating our freedom to continue in the practice of collectively and privately calling upon the name of God in prayer. And whereas we acknowledge our dependence on God and His guidance and ask for His protection, instructions, favor, and prosperity for our nation, its leaders, and people. Whereas we ask God, the author of liberty, to watch over our nation, protect our liberties, and protect those who serve us at home and abroad, and ask for God to shine His face upon them and protect them and their families. And whereas we ask that God would give us rain from heaven in this dry season and would restore that which has been lost by so many. May there be a mighty outpouring from heaven that would quench a dry and thirsty land and the spirit of the people of this nation as we pray. I move approval.
I second.
Motion made and second. Would you please vote? Vote is unanimous. And we have Vicki Phillips, Tarrant County Director of National Day of Prayer, to accept this this resolution. If you'd meet me at the podium. Yes. Vicki, thank you for all that you do, and let me present this to you, and any comment you'd like to make to us, please feel free to do so.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, and thank you, Commissioners. We want to thank you for honoring us with this resolution once again this year. It's such a pleasure to know that we have people in our community that rely on the power of prayer, and they know how important that is to our city, our state, and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have our consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. We have no public hearings today. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the Court, we have 4 additional items we'd like to bring to you this morning. The first concerns a request for an exception of the travel policy. This relates to JP Precinct 2. This will allow a clerk to attend a meeting which will be held in Rockwall, Texas, and your staff is requesting approval.
I move for approval.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have just a minor comment. One of these, instead of saying Rockwall County, one of the requests officially said it was in Dallas County.
We have 3 different requests today. 2 of them are in Dallas and 1 is in Rockwall.
Okay, I thought the one in Dallas mentioned a hotel in Rockwall. I think they're all in Rockwall, but maybe I'm Bella Harbor or something.
Yeah,
like that.
actually, you're absolutely correct, Commissioner. This is one that is for Constable Precinct 8.
Well, this one is correct.
It is correct.
Okay, we didn't vote, did we?
No, we did not.
Okay. Vote is unanimous.
Okay. Members of the court, if we could go to item number 2. This again is an exception to the travel policy for JP Precinct 7. This is a Justice Court Training Center clerk seminar which will be held in Dallas on May 26th through the 27th. Staff is requesting approval.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
On item number 3, this is also an exception to the travel policy for Constable Precinct 8. And as Commissioner Fick has pointed out, this conference is not going to be held in Dallas, but it is in Rockwall. The dates of the conference are May 17th through the 20th. We have 3 deputy constables that are wanting to attend this, and staff is requesting that the court approve this exception.
Move for approval.
I second.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Members of the court, if we could go to item number 4, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court approve a resolution which relates to the issuance of tax-exempt Series 2011 revenue bonds by the Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation to Baylor Healthcare System in an amount not to exceed $525 million, and to approve the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act resolution, which is the TEFRA, which approves the issuance eventually of tax revenue bonds not to exceed $980 million. Just a few comments as it relates to this. It's the intent of Baylor Healthcare System to issue a total of about $980 million over the next 2 to 3 years. They're currently asking that we authorize the issuance of $525 million. There are a number of facilities that Baylor is going to improve and buy equipment for. Those are listed in your court communication. There's several that are located in Tarrant County. We have already received consensus or the approval from Collin County, Ellis County, and Dallas County as it relates to the construction of facilities and improvement of facilities in their counties. We have also received the hub letter that we require from Baylor Healthcare, and also a notification that the properties that they own in Tarrant County have no restrictions as it relates to medical or governmental facilities.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Now, Tarrant County doesn't have any liability on the issuance.
No, this approval is merely to conform with IRS regulations.
Okay.
I move for approval.
I will second.
Motion made and second. Is there any further discussion?
I see 2 facilities here on,
Pardon me?
sure, in Tarrant County.
Baylor
Irvine
also.
and All Saints.
That's correct.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Budget and Risk Management. Ms. Snyder.
Excuse me for not getting up today, but the Risk Management Board is recommending the payment of the claim to Paul Polson in the amount listed on your agenda.
Move for approval.
I will second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Criminal courts,
I want your mic on.
is that you?
No,
Huh?
a DA's office, I think, is a, are we
No,
in
the
a
DA's office. I'll call on the DA's
About it.
office.
you anymore, Ray. I'm trying to get here.
He's just a little bit out of line here, right?
Yes. Ray has never been out of line.
Greg?
The judges have one item, but I just really wanted to formally let you know my role is changed for the citizens of Tarrant County, and I'm now serving them as the criminal courts administrator. And I did have opportunities to follow Ray in the past. But the judges are asking for approval of a contract for the direct court for one of the public defenders. The direct program is the adult drug program that diverts people from the criminal justice system out of the jail.
All right. Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
I will second that.
Motion made and second to approve. Any further discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank you, Greg.
All right, thanks.
Now, Ray.
Okay. Now it's the DA's office turn, I think.
Yes, sir.
We have some subrogation recovery checks. The first one's the amount of, I'm going to do them all together, and we'll just take one motion if it's all right. The first one's an amount of $3,492.92. The second one's in the amount of $271.22. Third one's in the amount of $847. The fourth one's in the amount of $1,214.88. And the final one's in the amount of $100.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ray.
Thank you.
Human Resources, Ms. Glenn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have 5 items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Second item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for domestic relations. As explained in your court communique, after salary savings, the net fiscal impact of this request will be a little bit more than $7,500.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
I will second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
For item number 3, we're asking the court to approve a departmental reorganization for information technology. In particular, the court is being asked to create a deputy CIO position by eliminating 2 existing positions in IT, vacant positions. We are not anticipating any fiscal impact for the balance of this fiscal year, again, due to the elimination of the 2 positions and salary savings.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Are there any discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Our fourth item, we're asking the court to approve the Job Evaluation Committee's recommendation for information technology. This is related to item 3. The Job Evaluation Committee is recommending an assignment of a pay grade 94 to the deputy CIO position.
How is that comparing to the the current IT market? Can we attract qualified personnel?
I can tell you with the Commissioner, the Job Evaluation Committee, the process that they go through is they meet with, or actually have a meeting, and I think Mr. Maney has presented information with regard to this position. We look at the internal positions and how they are graded, and then we use an evaluation tool that actually takes a look at our internal equity, and then periodically we look at our external equity. I can tell you that the beginning salary for this position is almost $140,000.
And our IT salaries are based on a P50 ratio, and we believe that this is a competitive salary that will attract the type of person that we're looking for.
Okay. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Is there any further discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And our final item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits and to double fill a position for the county administrator's office. The net fiscal impact of this request is a little more than $9,000.
I will move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Mr. Beecham, purchasing.
Members of the court, we have eight items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for RFP number 2011-042. This is a request for proposal for our health risk assessment services for all our employees. Our recommendation will be to award on a per unit price basis according to the Medical Center of Plano's Center for Lifestyle Enhancement.
Move for approval.
I will second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
If we could now skip to our number 3 item, which is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-055. This is our annual contract for moving services. Our recommendation will be to award the low bidder, our primary vendor, All Points Pioneer, awarding to the secondary alternate vendor as shown in your court communique on a per unit price basis.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Item number 4 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-062. This is a bid for the MHMR of Tarrant County Data Center Finish-Out Project. Our recommendation would be toward the low bidder, the BIT Group, the amount of $408,231. If approver seeking contract approval and acceptance of the payment and the performance bond.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Item number 5 is another bid award recommendation for RFP number 2011-065. This is an annual contract for an MICR printer maintenance. Our recommendation would be to award a company called Office Store Depot Incorporated.
Office Store Depot.
Not Office Depot, but Office Store Depot Incorporated.
That's a tricky one. I move for approval.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Does this company have any affiliation with Office Depot?
No, sir. Not that we're aware of.
They're just ripping off their name.
Any other comments or discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Item number 6 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-077. This is our annual contract for hot applied crack sealant. Recommendation will be toward the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique on a per unit price basis.
I move for approval.
I'll second. Any discussion? I believe this is for 9K7, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yes, okay. Any further discussion or questions? That's the next item, Commissioner. This is 6 we're on now. The question is on 7.
Okay. Okay.
There being no further question, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Number 7 is a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2011-078. This is an annual contract for cold applied crack sealant. Our recommendation will be to award the primary and secondary vendors as shown in the court communique on a per unit price basis.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion made and second, and before we vote on this, I have an audience participation form from Morris Key. If Morris would come forward, please. If you would give us your address, name and
Yes.
address for the record.
My name is Maurice Key. I'm with a company called Easy Seal in Van Alstyne, Texas. We were the second bidder on this contract, and we would ask the court to delay the award pending a clarification of the company that was recommended to receive the award meeting specifications.
You're asking
the court to delay the award pending clarification of the specifications. We would like to make sure that the company that is recommended to receive the award does indeed meet the specifications given by the purchasing department. We think there's some possibility that it does not.
You're going to have to be a little more specific for me to want to do that.
All right. The requirement is that the cold applied crack sealant meet TxDOT specifications, and that there be accompanying the bid a copy of a recent TxDOT report showing that they meet specifications. And we didn't receive anything from purchasing, but wondering what the result was, we called and talked to a lady named Rebecca, who told us that Allstates, which is the company that was came in low bid apparently, had a current TxDOT specification lab report accompanying their bid. So we checked with TxDOT, and Allstates has been one of our competitors for years, and they haven't even bid on TxDOT contracts for the last couple of years that we know of. And they said they do not have any samples from Allstates in the last couple of years. So we wonder if they really did have a passing result from their sample that was submitted to Materials and Test in Austin, which is the only way to determine whether or not they meet TxDOT specs. Because if Materials and Test doesn't test the material and give it a lab number, then they do not meet TxDOT specifications.
Jack, what are your thoughts?
Respond to this, please.
You want me to sit down?
Go ahead and stand there.
Wait there.
We have test results, asphalt material test reports from TxDOT. Something that he did say, that's a specification in the past is not, we never required a current test report. That's something we could certainly do. Both products are equal, as indicated to us by all four precincts. I have no problem with checking that a little bit closer, not a problem whatsoever. I think it's a fair request.
Did the specifications
As for a test report, which we have, but his is dated 3/21/2011. Theirs is not that recent.
Well, how recent is it?
2005.
That's not recent at all.
We've required a test result, but we've not actually given a specific date. We could certainly do that. I have no problem with delaying it and going, checking that a little bit further.
20% difference in these bids. Close to 20%.
Pretty close.
Low bid in the second bid.
Yes, sir. His company has been, he was correct in that we've not purchased from them before or for quite some time. I think it's a fair request.
Okay.
A week or 2 weeks is not going to hurt us any.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Would y'all like to reconsider that? And
I move that we delay this bid for further clarification.
I'll change my motion to that.
I thank the court.
all right.
Thank you.
Let me ask this question then. You didn't say how long to delay it. Will a week be long enough, or do we need longer than that?
With the amount that we would expect to spend, I think on your tabulation sheet, we're guessing that the spend will be about $22,000 a year. I might make another recommendation. We've got $50,000 we can spend under state law to satisfy our requirements in order to delay it for me to have to come back and say, and again, I think the request is fair. This has not been a requirement, an issue in the past. I would much rather reject the bids, put it back out. We'll ask for a current test date, and we probably save some time.
Well, this is crack sealant time of the year. coming up. How long is this going to take?
We can get it right out on the street again. Again, with our expected spend, we have up to $50,000 that we can spend by state law before we have to actually put a formal bid on the street. So we have some wiggle room.
If you do it that way, I would like to you to at least let the court know what you did.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, with the motion that we have now, we probably need to, I don't know what procedure we need to go through, but we need to
Take no
cancel
action.
all the motions that are on the floor and start with a new one.
You have three choices, one of which you've already rejected, so we won't talk about it. The current motion is not necessary. If you don't take action, you don't take action. You don't have to vote to not take action. The other thing you could do is you could reject all bids, but you don't really have that. Yeah, you can reject all bids. You can always do that.
I think that's his recommendation, isn't it?
But you don't have a motion for that one yet.
No, we don't. So do we ignore the two motions that we have and make a new motion? Is that?
I'm fine with it. You could always go through, 3 or 4 votes to get to the same outcome, but you could do that too.
Mr. Key would like to provide some input.
Sorry, Mr. Key, come forward, please.
Yes, so I'd like to call the court's attention to the fact that ours is the only one that meets the RFQ requirements in submitting a current test result.
Is yours the low bid
No.
between these two?
He's $4,300.
We have two test reports from TxDOT. The issue, which again is why I thought his was a fair request, was the issue in the past has never been an issue before. We will now, from this day forward, we will put a date and ask for a recent test report. We have 2 test reports from TxDOT. His is current. The other company's is not current.
So, Jack, do you have a recommendation to the court?
My recommendation would be to reject all bids and rebid with revised specifications.
I move that we go with Jack's recommendation.
A second.
Motion made and second that we reject all bids and rebid with new specifications. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Or revised specifications?
Yes, sir.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Judge. I would just like to point out that the specifications given here already require detailed specification sheets and current TxDOT testing documentation, and we would submit that 2005 is not current.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
If we could now go to our item number 8, which is an item in regards to RFP number 2011-053. This was an RFP for a laboratory information management system for the Public Health Department. We are recommending this morning rejection of all proposals due to the abbreviated time period of the funding grant source, insufficient time to complete the capital equipment purchases by the deadline of April 30, and for an implementation fully functional by the required deadline of July 31, 2011 to meet those grant requirements.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And our last item is an item in regards to RFP number 2011-056. This was a request for proposal for an open source electronic outbreak case management system for the Public Health Department. Again, we are recommending rejection of all proposals due to the abbreviated time period of the granting funding grant source, insufficient time to complete the evaluation, and negotiations to meet that deadline of April 30, 2011.
I move for approval.
Second.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Transportation. Slam.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm here today to request that Commissioners Court approve a contract of sale between Tarrant County and Brenda and Maceo Smith in the amount of $110,000. It's for the purchase of .359 acres of land located at 6636 Charbonneau Road in Lake Worth. We also ask the court approve the license agreement to allow the Smiths to continue living on this property for 90 days after closing, and that you authorize the right-of-way supervisor to sign the closing documents. This is the property that we need to provide for future parking needs at the Northwest Sub-Courthouse.
There's a row of houses down Charbonneau behind or in front of our courthouse, whatever you want to say. But as these properties are vacated, we're trying to make a purchase on them. We already have some property over there, so we can have adequate parking for all of our activities.
Is there a house on that?
Yes, there's a house there.
Move for approval.
I second.
Motion made and second. Is there any further discussion?
I'm assuming we have a consenting property.
We're not condemning the property.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
My second item is the request the court approve an order to abandon, vacate, and close Bilardi Court. It's a platted road within Pyramid Acres Unit Number 8, a subdivision in Precinct 1. There's been one property owner that acquired all the property on this court. The road has never been built or used for public purposes, and he's asked us to abandon, close, and vacate the road so he has access for all of his lots without this road in it.
Okay, and the DA's approved this?
Yes, sir.
You talked to Commissioner Brooks about this?
Yes, sir. We have discussed this with Commissioner Brooks as well.
Move for approval.
I will second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
My final item today is to ask the Commissioners Court approve the resolution in order decreeing public necessity for a public project known as Forest Hill Everman Road. It extends from McPherson to Oak Grove Road in the city of Fort Worth. We're asking that the court approve the resolution, the preliminary plans, and also approve the acquisition and payment of compensation to the adjacent property owner.
Move approval.
I will second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. County Judge and Commissioners, Commissioner Wynn. You have.
I move for approval of the interlocal agreement with the City of Cannondale, item O, 1A, B, C, and D. These are strictly, we are providing professional services, and the City of Cannondale is obligated to pay for all material costs and so forth.
Okay, I'll second. Is there any discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous. Any appointments today? Bonds. I understand we have two. Ms. Diamond.
Commissioners, we are today bonding the Chief Deputy Tax Assessor Collector so that there will not be any interruption in services as we move through the next several weeks and months. So the request is to approve the bond of the Chief Deputy Tax Assessor Collector, Tom Spencer, payable to the Governor of the state in the amount of $100,000, and also to approve the other bond, the bond of the Chief Deputy Tax Assessor Collector, payable to the Tarrant County Commissioners Court in the amount of $100,000.
Okay.
Move for approval.
I second.
Motion made and second for both bonds. Any discussion? There being none, please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
We have our claims.
I move for the approval of the claims and the addendum.
Second.
Motion made and second for claims and the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Briefing?
Thank you, Commissioner. We have two items to bring to the court this morning. The first is an update on the Family Drug Court Program. Judge Gene Boyd is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Commissioners, for having us today. As you know, I'm Jean Boyd. I'm the judge of the 323rd Family District Court. And I hear the majority of the cases filed by Child Protective Services in this county seeking custody of children who have allegedly been abused or neglected within their home. And I'm pleased to be here today to talk to you about a program that we have in our court called the Family Drug Court Program. And it's really appropriate that I'm here in May because actually this is National Drug Court Month. And it's a month to recognize the tremendous impact that drug courts have had in reducing substance abuse, restoring lives, and I believe making communities safer. I started the Family Drug Court Program about 3.5 years ago because of a problem that I was seeing in my court. Child Protective Services was removing a number of children from their home because they had been born drug exposed. These are women who had used drugs during their pregnancy, and these children were born with drugs in their system, so Child Protective Services had removed these children. They worked to try to reunite the family, provide treatment for the parents, and to return the children home. But over and over again, I was sitting on the bench listening to the assistant district attorney in my case, presenting cases, asking me to terminate parental rights between these children and their parents because the parents had not stopped using drugs. And as I listened to these cases, I looked towards the mother of the children, and the mother was again pregnant, sitting there in front of me after I'd heard testimony that she was using drugs. And I knew that that baby was being exposed again to drugs and would be born with drugs in their system. And again, we would have the recurring cycle that this child would be removed and come back to my court. It just broke my heart. And I thought we needed to have a change. And so I got together with members of the community, and about 3.5 years ago, we started the Family Drug Court to try to break that cycle. Now, I promised GK that we would cut our presentation short because we know how busy you are, but I want to introduce my associate judge, Judge Ellen Smith, who presides over the Family Drug Court, and we want to tell you a little bit more about our drug court program.
We certainly appreciate this opportunity to be here this morning. Thank you for having us. I am the associate judge who presides over Family Drug Court, and so I hear all the cases in which the parents have agreed to participate in this program. I have been on the bench for 15 years, and this program is by far the most rewarding and important work that I've done over the course of my career. When I first meet a parent who's had a child removed at birth for illegal substance use during pregnancy, that parent is in the grip of addiction. I have a mother standing in front of me at the bench who is overwhelmed by grief that she has actually used drugs, continued to use drugs during her pregnancy. Oftentimes she's done this before. She's homeless, she has no job, she has no transportation, she has no plan for the future, and she has no hope. And often she's burned her bridges with her own family. If not that, then she has started using drugs with her own family. This is a population of people who come from very dysfunctional living situations as children themselves. The removal of a child at birth is both a crisis and an opportunity, and it may well provide the most powerful motive possible for parents to seek treatment and pursue their recovery. And this is what we try to take advantage of in the Family Drug Court. If they're ready to make that commitment, then the Family Drug Court is ready to give them that hope. We are trying to break the intergenerational cycle of drug abuse, drug addiction, chronic parental abuse and neglect, criminal behavior, homelessness, and despair. We offer families this hope with a broad collaboration of community partners. A number of them are here today, and I'll just ask that they stand so that you can see who's represented. This is a list of our partners, and I don't intend to go through them individually because we have so many. But thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
If you do have any questions for them, I'm sure they'd be happy to meet with you individually at your convenience to answer them. We also have a graduate present who's been brave enough to come to court today, Stacy. Stacy, why don't you stand? She'll be happy to come up and tell you about her experience with Family Drug Court briefly if you'd like to hear from her at the end of the presentation. Thank you, Stacy. You may have had your own lives touched by the difficult issues that are presented by substance abuse and addiction. You may have confronted these issues within your own families or extended families or churches or other organizations that you're members of. And if so, you know how hard and heartbreaking these issues truly are. The parents who come into Family Drug Court do not have those kinds of external supports. They come to us with layers of complex needs that are deep and entrenched, such as family violence, childhood trauma, poor parenting skills, a history of incarceration. 67% of our Family Drug Court clients have a criminal history, and 33% of those have no criminal history. But the majority of the criminal histories are actually felony offenses. They have histories of unemployment and low educational achievement. So what do we do for them? First and foremost, they are assessed for treatment. And because they are mothers of children who were born drug exposed, this is a priority population for state-funded residential beds. And so we have a very close relationship with Recovery Resource Council, who does these assessments and makes beds available, residential beds available to us for these mothers and fathers. And so they enter residential drug treatment at the very outset, which is very, very different from the typical CPS case in which that's the very last service that the parent is willing to engage in. Following inpatient, they go to a supervised setting such as Union Gospel Mission. We've established a very good relationship with them, as well as Salvation Army First Choice Program. They begin outpatient treatment at that time. They obtain a sponsor. They connect with an NA or AA group, and they begin their step work. They are provided with 4 times the visitation that a standard CPS case allows a parent in a drug situation. That means that we are increasing bonding greatly between the baby and the parent, as well as providing valuable opportunities for parent training. Around month 4, they're reunited with their children in the supervised setting, so they're constantly monitored and we can be assured of the baby's safety. And this is also very unusual from a typical CPS case, because in a successful CPS case where drugs are involved, reunification is very rare prior to month 10, which means that we're incurring significant savings in the cost of foster care, and that is the rate of $6,141 per child in each case that's successful in Family Drug Court, where we reunify at month 4. They attend my court every other week, on a Friday morning for accountability purposes. We discuss their successes, we discuss their setbacks and concerns, and I assign sanctions for them if there have been some setbacks that we need to discuss. Once they're solid in their recovery, we assist them with housing, employment, healthy support systems, all while we're monitoring their risks. They're tested regularly in the field by an intensive case manager, and eventually they transition to independence and they graduate at about month 15 into the case. As you may or may not be aware, the law prescribes that we have to conclude these CPS cases within 12 months, place a child in a permanent placement by then. There is an exception that we can extend the case for 6 months, and so we do take advantage of that exception to make sure that the parents who graduate from our program are solid in their recovery before the CPS case is closed. In 3.5 years, we've provided services to 209 parents and children. 61% of the families in Family Drug Court have successfully graduated over the course of 3.5 years, and we're getting better at that. In 2010, we had 10 successful families graduate and only 1 family that did not successfully graduate. We have only had 1 graduate who was convicted of a new criminal offense since graduation. They enter treatment quickly at the very beginning of the case. They complete treatment more quickly than a person without these kinds of supports, and they stay in treatment longer. Family Drug Court babies receive more services than in a typical CPS case. They have fewer placement changes. They're placed with family members more often, and they spend far more days in parental care and reunify with their parents at higher rates than a typical CPS case. And of course, the recovery support is greatly enhanced. We are breaking the cycle of drug-exposed babies being born to addicted mothers in this program. We're saving untold dollars in medical costs, foster care, special education, and criminal justice costs. This is the result of one study done in 2009 that was published in 2010 in Kansas on methamphetamine use, and it estimated that the lifetime cost of one child born exposed to methamphetamine was $1.5 million. I asked for some information locally concerning the cost of a child's stay and treatment in the neonatal intensive care unit at JPS, and one child last week born positive for marijuana cost $8,000 a day and had to stay for 5 days, and that's a cost of over $40,000 for marijuana. And children who are born exposed to methamphetamine and cocaine incur much, much higher treatment costs than those exposed to marijuana. We have had 8 clean babies born, 6 to parents while they were in the program, and 2 to graduates of the program. And we're connecting these parents to JPS health services, including family planning and prenatal care. The average cost per client for family drug court services over the course of 15 months is $3,840. And of course, this is an average rate. This program effectively leverages and coordinates the resources currently available in Tarrant County and gets the most motivated parents into those services and keeps them there. And so we are harnessing the power of the community. I have a number of other slides about in-kind donations and funding strategies that we've pursued. I do want you to know that 92% of the cost of this program over the course of the last 3.5 years has been community support rather than county support. The county has helped us with the other percentage for interim funding while we were waiting for private grants to come through. And I would like to let you know that we are planning to next week present a recommendation for the award of a contract to Tarrant County Challenge to continue the administration of this program. And the funding for that program comes from 2 sources, a family protection fee as well as the drug and alcohol court fee, which are funded by court costs, and the money exists for payment of this. And the contract would cover what we currently have, and that's the provision of 1 supervisor for the program in addition to 1 full-time intensive case manager. We have another half-time intensive case manager covered by a $50,000 governor's grant currently that's administered through the county. Not only have we forged and maintained effective partnerships in the treatment community, we've engaged the hearts of individuals who want to help these families. I'd like to give you just a couple of brief examples. One of our child advocate volunteers who works with our program recruited her own dentist to do dental work on our most successful graduates. And as you may know, methamphetamine use ruins mouths and teeth. And she now has accepted her 4th graduate for free. We also have enlisted the help of a Texas Wesleyan law student who's very savvy computer-wise. He built our web-based data system for us for free. CASA also has been invaluable as providing in-kind donations like strollers for people, furniture for their apartments, books for children, and parent training. In conclusion, we'd like to share with you what some of our participants have told us. I have a number of slides up here containing quotes of the participants. As they go through the program, they progress through phases, and at each phase, as they advance with their progress, we ask them to fill out an application answering certain basic questions, like what are they most proud of and what has the Family Drug Court done for them, what are their goals for the future and what barriers they envision. And these statements are some of the things that they've said in their own words. And I believe I've provided a copy in writing to the commissioners. If not, we can provide you with that. And I also have some that we've passed out to the people in the gallery today. So if you have any questions for our partners, we'd be happy to entertain them at this time. And if you'd like to hear from Stacy, I'd be happy to bring her up.
Please do.
Commissioners, would you like to hear from Stacy?
I think we would.
Stacy?
We have that. You have that.
Hi, my name is Stacy Perkins. I've been clean for a little over 2 years. when I first realized I was having a problem, I didn't realize that I, would have a baby. It was positive. I have 3 other children that I didn't use drugs with, so I have 4 children altogether, and from the Family Drug Court, they've given me my life back, and they've given my kids their mother back. And today, I'm very proud to say that if it wasn't for the Family Drug Court, I wouldn't be standing here today. They truly saved my life and my kids' life. And I'm actually starting school in the fall, and that's not something that I would have done if I would have stayed where I was at. Like I said, that if through all, I still have a lot of support since I'm out of the program, and I still continue to attend the alumni that has been formed with the Family Drug Court to try and help the other ladies that and men that are coming into the program, show them that they can do it.
All right. Any questions?
Well, I would like to congratulate you for a great achievement. A lot of times we all have difficult circumstances, but in your situation, it can be extremely impossible to get out. And I would encourage you to keep focused on moving forward. And hopefully in the future, you'll look back and this will be an inspirational moment for you. Again, keep up the good work.
Judges, I totally agree with what Commissioner Wynn said. I want to thank both of you for taking this on, and all your collaborators that are working with you. This is something that takes a community to make happen, and obviously this has been very successful. And
this is a perfect example of going beyond the call of duty to do this.
Excellent
Thank
program.
you so much.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the support we've always gotten from the commissioners in this county for our programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you.
The reason for the presentation this morning is because their funding sources are drying up. And there is a fund that we collect a fee, don't leave right now yet, that we collect a fee on, and I believe that next week we'll be talking about utilizing monies out of that fee. It's not a general revenue fund, but it's a fee that we collect on court costs. We were going to ask for $174,000.
I think it's $177,000 is the annual amount of the funding that we need to keep the program in place right now. The fee started some years ago. We have not tapped it except in emergency situations such as right now. We've been interim funding this program from there for the last few months. It really the fee itself puts out very specific guidelines on what it can be used for. It has to be through a nonprofit, which this is through Challenge Inc. And criteria seems to all meet perfectly, so our recommendation is to, in the event the court does want to keep this program, that we look for that source of funding in the future. And of course, I want to mention that we've been very successful in the past with private donations to start this program and fund it up to now for 3.5 years, you said? Yes. So.
Thank you for
All right.
the opportunity, and
Judges,
thank you for your
very
continuing
much,
support.
both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of court, if we could now go to item B, which is the legislative issues. Mr. Mendez has included in your packet 2 memoranda as relates to the last 2 weeks. I will tell you that we have only about 4 weeks left in the legislative session, and things are moving slowly, but they're moving fast also. We have the House budget bill is in the Senate. There's a significant difference between the House version and the Senate version. We've also had activity as it relates to the consolidation of Juvenile Probation Commission and the Texas Youth Council, which is TYC. We believe that will eventually become law. There's still a wide gap as far as generating revenue to totally fund the state's budget, and we're monitoring that on a daily basis, actually more than a daily basis, more like an hourly basis. While we can do some projections as it relates to that, the problem is that those projections stand to change very quickly. So we will keep you informed, and I will attempt to answer any questions that the court might have on either one of these two memoranda. If not,
I have no question. No, sir.
Commissioner Johnson, that's all we have at this time.
Okay, well, we have Employee Appreciation Day listed here May 3rd, and it's now changed to May 10th.
That's correct.
If it doesn't snow or sleet or anything. Okay, pursuant to Article, or Section 551071, 072, 074, 076, and 087, we will now convene this meeting into closed session and return after we complete that session for the remainder of our agenda.
Solid course.
It's a no-tell motel on telephone.
Call this meeting back to order. There being no business to take place as a result of our executive session, we are now dismissed.
Something